Judy.
So nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you too. How have you been?
I've been amazed to be in Kenya and to be part of the Clean Start conference here. It's the first time I've ever been in Kenya. It's actually the first time in many, many years that I've traveled out of the country.
Now, you told me you're about to catch your flight, and
Yes.
I thought I should sneak you into my conversation.
Thank you so much.
Judy, you've served a long time in prison.
I did. I
What
served a
got
long
you to
time.
prison?
I was involved in a serious crime and people died during that crime.
Yeah. What was it?
Though it was a robbery that in which I was a getaway driver.
Yeah.
But people ended up getting killed accidentally, and so I ended up doing a long sentence. And when I was inside, I had to decide that I had to find a way to redeem myself, to understand what was my motivation, the positive parts of my motivation. I was a radical, I was a person in the struggle, but I also had to figure out a way to redeem myself and find new ways.
How long did you stay in prison?
So I stayed for 37 years.
Where were you convicted by which correctional facility?
I was in New York State, so I
Yeah.
went to Bedford Hills Correctional Facility.
Yeah.
And there, I had a year-old child when I was arrested. And so for me, that was one of my greatest concerns. And we were able to work with a nun, Sister Elaine, who brought us together and fought for women to be able to build a children's center inside so that our children could visit us in a comfortable situation. And from that, we built other programs, parenting classes, advocacy, allowing people to find ways to communicate with family that they may have been estranged from. And eventually I was working on, we have a nursery there where mothers who give birth while they're inside can stay with their babies.
Yeah.
And I taught prenatal classes and then became the mentor up on the nursery.
Now speaking about getting into prison for 30-something years, you just came out in 2019.
Yes.
Yeah. And the whole journey, what has it taught you?
I think that for me personally,
Yeah.
I always was motivated by anger at injustice and wanting to change that. But I've learned that it was in prison that I experienced the work of building community based in love. And so I learned that our strength comes from bringing people together with a common cause.
Yeah.
And that's what was so exciting about coming here and seeing 400 formerly incarcerated women.
Women who have gone through
Gone through what I went
what you
through,
went through, yeah.
hearing their stories,
Yeah.
seeing Teresa and the way that she knows each woman, interacts with them, and is building this dynamic organization and movement, and cultivating leadership. And it really was inspiring me to continue my work outside. I work with women just like that.
Yes, and Judy, just as you caught up with the kids, and having sort of mentoring kids right at the prison, I would love to know when you went to prison. Did you have family?
I had.
And what happened to it? Tell me about it.
So my daughter was a year old,
A year
and
old?
just 1 year old,
Yeah.
and for most of her early life, she lived with my parents. And when they died, I had an extended family that she already had a close relationship with.
Yeah.
And so she was able to move into a continuing situation. But she went through many, many losses over her years.
Yeah.
What was important for us was that she was able to visit me the entire time. And she did. When she was young, it was like once a week. It wasn't once a week when she was older. But it meant that we were able to build a close relationship, that she could hold me accountable and ask me the kinds of hard questions that children need to ask us when we're inside, and I was able to grow into a person that she would say, what I've learned from my mother is that a person in life can make mistakes and grow from that and get stronger and better. And I think that's oftentimes true. That's what we want society to understand, that when we go to prison, it should not be the end.
It shouldn't define us.
It shouldn't define us.
And now that you brought that, I'd like you to quickly tell me about it. And the fact that you're respectfully older, you know, I look at you from a different perspective. And I know the younger generation. And you understand when I say the younger generation, because it's worse in New York. In fact, it's better here. But what is it that you'd like to advise, you know, the younger generation when it comes to just taking responsibility and doing the right thing?
I think that when I was inside, I was with a lot of young people. And what they most needed was hope in themselves and in their future. And so, you know, elders can't just say, you shouldn't do that. They have to say, here's a path. Believe in yourself enough to take the path. When we built a college program inside, women who never thought that they could get education ended up with bachelor's degrees, and they saw themselves in new ways. So I always tried to nurture hope in the women. The same thing with the young women that were on the nursery, many of whom had much shorter sentences than I did. And what I wanted them to know was that their past did not have to define them. And their guilt about their children that they left on the outside did not have to define them, that they could transform that into self-knowledge and motivation to do better. And one of the things that was exciting when I got out and I went to Our Children, which works inside, but then outside it provides housing and services, is that I got to see some of the children that I knew as babies on the nursery who were now young adults. And their mothers were striving and they were striving. And that's what we want for all the women that I saw at the Clean Start conference, that those women have the capacity to grow, to be really important
adults
members.
And citizens of the community.
Exactly. And I watch that. I'm the community justice advocate for Clean Start. I mean, for Our Children.
Our Children.
And I bring many of the women that get out with me to conferences, to rallies, to classes. And I say, you know, you too can give back. And I think most of us that get out, including the young, when they realize that they can have a purpose in their lives, they're still young, they still want fun in their lives, but they also get really excited at the idea of having a purpose.
Thank you so much, Judy.
Thank you.
I'll let you catch your flight.
It's so sweet. Thank you so much.
That you're not delaying.
Thank you so
and also
much.
eat something.